Council, just noting the time. I think we'll get started, and the live stream will join as we proceed. But I just want to start on the agenda with the identification of media.
Victoria Gray from the Turtle Island News.
Okay, second call. Welcome, Victoria. I see no other media on the line, so we'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is additions, changes, and adoption of the agenda. I see Helen.
I want to bring up Pride Month
Okay.
and a residency issue. And I have to do it in an open meeting because there's circumstances.
Okay.
I won't be naming names.
Okay, so we have 2 additional items. Any others? See none. Can I get a mover for the agenda? I see Audrey. Moved by Audrey, seconded by Sherry Lynn. Second call, any additions, subtractions, deletions, discussion? Hearing none, moving to the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing and hearing none, motion has passed with 2 additional items. Okay, we're going to agenda item number 4. My understanding is this is second reading. Is there any additional information from Lori Davis Hill or Sarah Smith?
We weren't sure if the members of council that were not at the previous meeting wanted any further information.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll get Audrey to introduce the motion, and then we'll open it up for questions. So over to you, Audrey.
Thanks, Nathan. I move that the Six Nations of the Grand River Elected Council approves the revisions to the Pandemic Response Framework version 2.1 as presented by Lori Davis Hill and Sarah Smith. I so move.
Thank you, Audrey. I see Helen's in the room. Helen, you got your hand up?
No, I second.
Yep, okay. Turn it over to council to see if there's any further questions, clarifications. Seeing none, I'll move right into the vote to accept as in terms of second reading. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Audrey, seconded by Helen. All in favor?
Favor.
Any opposed? Seeing and hearing none, motion has passed second reading. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Sarah. Any final thoughts?
No, I just wanted to make note that comms had put out a notice to the community that there were revisions underway, so I'm sure we can move forward now with getting it out publicly.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Lori. Thanks, Sarah, and thanks, council. We'll move on to agenda item number 5, adoption of general council minutes of May 25th.
I'll move.
I'll
Okay,
second.
so I have moved by Sherry Lynn, seconded by, I think Michelle had her hand up first, Carrie.
Okay, that's fine.
Seconded by Michelle. Any amendments, changes, deletions? Open for discussion. Seeing none, moving to the vote. All in favor?
Favor.
Any opposed? Seeing and hearing none, motion has passed. Item number 6, adoption of general council minutes of June 8th.
I'll move on that.
Okay, moved by Carrie, seconded by Helen. Any amendments, deletions, subtractions, discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, moving to the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing and hearing none, motion is passed. Moving on to item number 7, Ethics Committee.
I'll move.
Okay, moved by Michelle. Seconder,
Melba.
seconded by Melba. Michelle, would you mind reading out the motion 7-1?
Okay, moved by myself, second by Melba, that the Six Nations Ethics Committee, Research Committee recommends to the Six Nations elected council to approve Swara Oasis application to conduct research titled COVID-19 related stressors among pregnant and postpartum birthing center clients.
Thank you, Michelle. Having been properly moved and seconded, read into a record. Is there any questions? None? Okay, moving to the vote. All in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Seeing and hearing none, motion has passed. And what I'll do is I'll waive second reading after we're done 7-2. So is there a mover and seconder for recommendation 7-2?
I'll move 7-2.
Moved by Michelle, seconder.
Melba.
Melba. Thank you, Melba. Okay, Michelle, if you don't mind reading that one into the record.
Okay, moved by myself that the Six Nations Ethics Research Committee recommends to Six Nations elected council to approve Joanna Dipple's application to conduct research titled Exploring the Potential of Scalable User-Centric Science Platforms and Tools to Co-Create Actionable Knowledge and Transform Water Governance.
Thank you. Is there any questions? No discussion. Okay, moving to the vote. All in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Seeing and hearing none, motion's passed, and I'll ask for a motion to waive second reading for 7-1 and 7-2.
I'll move.
Moved by Michelle, seconder.
Melba.
Seconded by Melba. Motion to waive second reading. All in favor? Is there anyone opposed? Seeing and hearing none, motion to waive second reading has passed. Okay, council, we're moving on to recommendation number 8 from recommendations from building and infrastructure. I see recommendation 8.1, and I'll turn it over to Councillor Audrey Paulos-Boundary to read into the record.
I move that the Building and Infrastructure Committee recommends to the Six Nations of the Grand River elected council to support the application to the Green and Inclusive Buildings Program for the Gowanio School and the Six Nations Public Library and Archival Repository. Further, that the Six Nations of the Grand River elected council identifies Gowanio School as their top priority for funding from this program. I so move.
Thank you, Audrey. And Michelle, you're good seconding still? Okay, moving into questions, clarification. I see Wendy and then Helen.
So where's the information to substantiate that Gowanio is the top priority? Because I thought our archival department, their building is ready to fall apart and has been, and there's many issues with it. So just want to make sure that we have the full documentation, substantiation that shows how we've identified Gowanio as the top priority. I know there's a need for a school. I know all that. So I'm not looking for that information, just in terms of the criteria and the assessment and the evaluation and the prioritization.
Thanks for that, Wendy. Does our mover and seconder have that clarification, or Darren?
Is Mike on the line? Mike Montour?
Oh, Mike.
Yes, he is. Yep.
We are going through a prioritization exercise of capital projects. However, it's not complete yet. It's underway. One of the big things with this program is that we need to get it to net zero. And with Gowanio, in my mind, it stands a better chance at getting the funding in regards to the most recent design. So it's been designed as of earlier this year. And just in regards to everything that's happening around what happened to how the government tried to destroy our language and culture. I think there's an opportunity here to get, funding for a new school to revive it or revitalize it. The archival building was designed in 2012, I believe. So there's significant things that need to be done as far as even code to get it to, because a lot of these applications are based around net zero and carbon emissions. So I feel like Gowanio probably, it stands the best chance of getting approval. Not only that, but there's a less capital cost. So just wanted to give our projects the best, or well, one of our projects at least the best opportunity it could succeed.
I get, if I can ask a subsequent.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's not built yet, right? So, I mean, and if things have to be done with the building and the planning, I mean, I would think the archival is the same, and whatever that priority is. But what I hear you say, Mike, is that the priority work, the list is not done. So that evaluation and prioritization is not done. That right now it's just verbal and it's based on perspective. So we don't have that written substantiation and that written documentation to say, we've gone through and we've identified criteria and this is how we came up with the priority. And I'm not arguing against it. It's just to make a decision and to have that information, that concrete information, so that it's in place. So what I'm hearing is we've not done any of that. We don't have it.
Thanks for that, Wendy. And I see Darren, you can provide further. Just turn it over to Darren.
Yes, thanks, Chair. Thanks for the question. We have developed a prioritization matrix, which is a weighted system to score our capital projects. And in lieu of the current situation, and I guess the heightened awareness with the 2015, and I think that's part of what Mike is speaking to. I think what we need to do, Mike, and we can certainly provide the documentation to support why it has become a priority, more of a priority than it was before, is to provide that full analysis and update that scoring, because we weighted culture and language at a certain weight, and I think that requires a revisit. However, I take the point very, very well, and we are very close to having this prioritization exercise go. And is in the top 10 of all of our projects, which are many. As I mentioned before in other calls, we have in excess of $750 million infrastructure gap in this community. Gowanio is in the top 10 of those projects. So it's certainly one area that I take your point very well, and I agree 100%. It needs to be substantiated, and there is work underway. I think this is just a signal to say, well, if it comes down to this project or that project, we needed to kind of list what is our top priority. And so I think that's where Mike's coming from, given the current climate.
Substantiation, Wendy?
And I appreciate that, but there's two different things being said. If they're in the top 10, and now we're moving over to the top. So, and we've not done the exercise yet. And there's no doubt in my mind, like I'm not arguing that it's very important, right? We've talked about it, there's a need there. But if we do that exercise of those top 10 and somebody else happens to come ahead of them, I mean, if our system then defines that, then what use is the system? That's just what my concern is.
Nathan, it's Hazel.
Okay, I'm gonna go Darren. I think you had a response, and then I had Helen, and then Hazel.
No, I completely get that, and I guess one of the factors that we hadn't, I guess, foreseen was the impact of I guess, a political priority, and I think that's part of it's sort of like a qualitative measure versus strictly quantitative. So that would, in some ways, increase it up to a higher priority. However, again, it's very much kind of a subjective call, and Mike's being very honest in his assessment and what he's been hearing, and it is a priority. It has been a priority for quite some time in this community to build this school, so Gowanio School. So if there's an opportunity with this green stream and it's net zero again, like you said, it hits those buttons, those check marks in terms of their funding. And I don't acquiesce to funding due diligence checklists. I don't think that that's the right way to go. Absolutely not. We have to serve our community needs, number one. However, we need to balance that on this particular available funding source. So I think we'll take our comments from this meeting and we'll go back and we'll review that. But I think it's just as stated as a priority. So again, Mike, it's subject to how they review and assess the project applications, right? So.
I'll go over to Helen.
Yeah, so we have two Six Nations organizations applying for the same funding. I don't think it's fair for council to choose one over the other. I don't think it's fair. Library board and the people that go to the library and the archive center and lands resource was supposed to go in that building as well. I don't know if they'd feel comfortable having council support the project over them. Like, it'd be different if it was only one project. I could see council writing a letter of support, but to choose one project over another in our same community, I don't think that's fair. I think we should give them both a go at the money, and hopefully one of them will get it. But I sat on a library board for like 10 years, and I know how hard they've worked to try and get a library. They've had their building designed for what, 10 years, I think. So it would be very disappointing to the library board if council chooses one over the other. And I just don't think it's right.
Thanks for that, Helen. I'm going to go to Hazel.
Yeah, I think that the fact that Galway Neal is right as of today overdue, because they had intended to start the build as of June the 1st, and that was based on the fact that the council had got a meeting with ISK. And I understand that they are waiting for a meeting, but no date has been set yet. So I don't know what's holding that up. And it's not a matter of council choosing anybody over anyone, because both of these two subjects are been waiting years. And if you can put in 2 applications for each one, fine, do that. And if you have to make a choice, I don't think council should be making a choice, but they know that they have to support both of them. So I just wanted to say too that in years of people waiting to get some help to get the building, I know that the children need that school building as soon as they can get it, and they should have had it a long time ago, but it never happened. So I think we just need to, if you can get for both projects, go for it. But it's not a matter of making a choice as to who you're going to support, because we have to support everyone, and that's what we're doing. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Hazel. I'm going to go to Wendy and then Audrey.
So the mover and the seconder, would you be willing to change it to say that it's one of the top priorities? Because I agree with Helen that to make that choice one over the other without having any substantiation, without having anything to be able to go back and say, this is why we did it based on this criteria, based on this evaluation, X, W, Z, this is a best compromise to put that forward. And it's, and then if you're close to that evaluation, then that will come through. But so is that an option?
I'll turn it over to Audrey as one of the movers and seconders for that question. And then I know you had your hand up for a comment as well.
I have a question first, Nate. Can I ask my question? My question goes to Mike and Darren. In the process here that you're doing, the application form, do you have to choose your top priority? So are you basically here following the application guidelines?
So just to speak to some of the questions I've heard that I don't think were really answered in that, yes, it is part of the top 10 priorities. However, there's only 2 shovel-ready buildings, and these are it. But to answer your question, Audrey, within the actual application guide itself, it does ask the applications be ranked.
Okay, then, and my question to that is I would rather stay as we are. I think one of the factors that you considered into here, Mike, and your group, was the fact that does not have a building. They're over 33 years now. Gowanio has not had a school for their kids to go to school in. They're in the top, as you all know, of an arena. The carrying of water every day by these little kids. The over $200,000 worth of upgrades have to be done to make it viable for them to be in for September should the schools open. They've been on our list for a long time. The other two buildings do have, the other two groups do have a building for now. And I think Gowanio is a priority. And I think that's our language, that's our culture. That's a priority to me, and it's been a priority, I think, to the majority of people on Six Nations. So I am quite content with leaving the motion as it is our priority. Mike has done the work, although it's not in proper written form. He still has done that analysis, and he's done it with knowing all the factors and knowing what the application form says. And he's already sent this in before a couple of years ago. So I would like to have it sent in again, because there's no reassurance that Gowanio is going to get a school when ISCO, we meet with them. This is just another way of trying to get money for these kids and the teachers and for the community to keep our language and our culture alive. Yeah.
Thanks, Andre. And just clarification on these applications. I know it does ask for priority, but you can still, we're an autonomous First Nation. We can still put both in as a priority and have Chief Hill negotiate that out going forward. So that is still an option. But I see there's more hands up, so still discussing this. I see Wendy.
Yeah, as I said at the very beginning, I'm not debating the need. I mean, I don't know that we have to go into and substantiate. We know culture, we know language, all of that. But it's based on, we have to make decisions based on factual documentation so that we can substantiate whether we're here tomorrow or next month or a year from now. There's got to be that documentation of why we made the decision so that we can, we can speak to that. That's all I'm looking for. And I heard Mike say that, there's stuff, there's a plan, but it's not been done yet. So that's what I was referring to. And that's why I tried to get the compromise and make the suggestion.
Thanks for that. I saw Michelle, your hand up.
So can we revise the, I have no problem with developing guidelines. Can we remove that last sentence and submit both?
Okay, Council, we're coming up with compromises here.
And if I could speak to.
Okay, go ahead, Melba.
Melba.
Yep, go ahead, Melba.
Yeah. I see this as a replacement for the responsibility of ISC. I don't think we should be doing that. We got to think of the future and how, for example, the repairs that are going to be ongoing through the years. We have to think of that. We should not be letting ISC off the hook. We should not be doing that at all. I don't know how you're thinking, why you would ever do that. I mean, this has been 33 years of form of abuse to these children, as far as I'm concerned. They've been neglected and abused in various ways. So we know that ISC, or Indian Affairs and Northern Development in the past, have really said, this is your schools. This is not our schools. It still belongs to them and their responsibility. So let's not let them off the hook. And I'm sure the group of parents and the board, teachers, they're not going to really accept this. Because Audrey said the word guarantee. There is no guarantee, but there possibly is. because of the responsibility that ISC has.
Nathan, it's Hazel.
Melba, were you done?
Yes, I am.
Thanks, Melba. And Hazel, turn it over to you.
Yeah. Based on what Melba is saying, I agree, and with what Audrey, everybody's got their points. If this in any way jeopardizes that applicate or request to ISC to fund a school, I don't want to see anything jeopardize that. I think we should be making a resolution to get a meeting if that meeting date has not been set up. And I'm going to ask Darren, do you know if any date has been selected as of yet to meet with ISC? Or Tammy, would you know?
Don't know. Tammy may have information. I know letters have been sent, requests have been sent.
Yes, the Gowaneo are waiting on that, and they're waiting patiently. And I know they've sent some emails, and they're going to keep on doing that regardless because they want to know. And I don't know what's taken so long to get a meeting set. And if they can get a meeting with ISC and go forward to ask them for funding, and then Mike could put in an application for the library building with that green application.
Okay, council. So I'm gonna move us.
Excuse me,
Okay,
it's Melba.
sorry.
Can we have an answer from Tammy, please?
Oh.
Has there been any correspondence from Mark Miller and Carolyn Bennett?
We have not received any written correspondence about the school itself. I know the chief has talked about having a meeting with Bennett and her team. So I believe that that's going to be set very soon.
Nathan, it's Hazel.
Okay, I have Hazel, and then I'm going to start concluding this. Hazel?
I understand, Tammy, that there is a letter that can't remember her name. The ISC lady sent asking for that meeting, or when would the meeting happen? So it sounded to me like that letter indicated they're ready and willing to meet as soon as possible too. So I think it's just a matter of a phone call quickly to say, we need to meet about funding for Gowaneo School. And it could happen as soon as you can call in and ask for the meeting. That's my understanding.
Okay, we'll
Ann
definitely.
Scott, that's the name of her.
We'll definitely do that follow-up. But I'm going to go to Michelle and then see where we're at, and we'll go to a vote either way. Michelle?
Mike, the deadline is when?
July 6th is the deadline.
Can we defer this, bring this back to finance on Monday, or I don't even know what meetings, Monday, and get that work done?
I'm kind of in that same vein because I think if we get some answers on the meeting with Ann Scotton and then do some work around the prioritizing it, and we can even get clarification on the application process, right? Because I get that it says prioritizing, but I think we can negotiate those pieces, right? Helen?
Yeah, I've been hearing about, we've been talking about, and I've been hearing about this meeting with ISC for going on for 3 weeks now, maybe even 4. I'm saying as a counselor, I want this meeting set up, and I want it set up right away. There should be no delay. I don't know what's taking so long to set up a meeting. If she doesn't want to meet with us, then tell us she don't want to meet with us. But according to what Hazel saw in a letter, they're ready to meet. It seems to be our end that's lacking. So let's get this meeting set up and let's get it over with. Because we've been talking about this for 4 weeks, going back and forth and back and forth. And Yeah, I'm just getting tired of it.
Okay.
Thanks,
Alex Melba?
Gonna go Melba.
Yes, if Mark was here, he would certainly give you more information. So, considering Mark is not here, I will give you more information. I have spoken to Mark. I'm really concerned about his well-being, considering the threats that have been in the community concerning himself and his family. And he did tell me they want to meet on Friday. It wasn't clear who. They want to meet this Friday. So if Tammy and Darren and whoever else needs to consult with Mark, I think it's very important that this meeting take place. Hopefully everyone would be available and well enough to take part.
Thanks for that, Melba. And that's something too I'll leave with Tammy to follow up and maybe even if you don't hear from Chief Hill tomorrow, just give council an update on where we're at regardless. Because if we are aiming for Friday, then, some prep's got to be done. I don't like going into meetings blind, so I think there's some work to be done on that front as well. And just also just acknowledging this issue that we have at hand in terms of Darren's note in the chat. Oh, sorry, that was directly to me. But I agree with it. Just to take the last sentence out and to proceed with Greenstream and ISC in tandem. And then once we get to that point in the application where they ask us to prioritize, then we can bring it back with some substantiation. Would that work?
Can I ask a question, please, Melba?
Go ahead, Melba.
Yes, do we know that this application, if it is submitted, green and inclusive community buildings for a school, that it would jeopardize our meetings or our possibilities of a school through ISC?
No, this is just an application process through one of their programs.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's just, if I may, just real quick, Chair, sorry. I think it's prudent that we do both. I think it doesn't preclude, one doesn't preclude the other. I mean, this is like, it's like hedging your bets, right? I mean, this is how it works. I mean, the responsibility absolutely falls on ISC number one. So we've got two projects in the queue for Greenstream. So I think we should proceed in that fashion and just not list one over the other to start with. My suggestion.
Okay. Going back to the mover and seconder, are we good with that?
Yes, I'm good with that. That makes sense to do both at one time and make sure that we can get that school built for Gowanio. Thank you.
Okay. Going to Michelle. Good to go. Okay, we'll proceed with the vote. So just for clarity.
Can I ask a question first? Can I ask a question first? It's Melba. Are you leaving in? What I'm reading is identifies Gowanio School as their top priority for funding from this program.
No, we're taking that out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so just for clarity, we're taking the last sentence out. So it'll read, moved by Audrey Pablis-Brownberry and seconded by Michelle Brownberry that the Building and Infrastructure Committee recommends to the Six Nations elected council to support the applications to the Green and Inclusive Buildings Program for Gunawego School and Six Nations Public Library and Archival Repository. Period, hard stop. Good with the mover, good with the seconder. Had substantial discussion. Going to the vote, all in favor? Any opposed? Seeing and hearing, the motion is passed. Do we want to waive second reading on that? Moved by Audrey, seconded Michelle. Motion to waive second reading on recommendation 8.1. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion to waive second reading is passed. Thank you, council. Moving quickly to number 9, scheduling. Council break. We get a break?
I can answer that question, Nathan. This is actually something that the chief was wanting to suggest to council. You remember last year, I believe you tried to do a 2-week break during the summer, but rather than doing 2 weeks together, he thought maybe if council wanted to take 2 weeks, maybe break it up the very last week of July and the very last week of August. And that would mean no council meetings and no committee meetings.
Okay, how does council feel about that? I see thumbs up. Thumbs up. Okay, there you go, Tammy. Good to go. Weeks are good to go. And then the budget approval meeting. Do we still need to schedule that, or is there going to be a process that we follow there?
So that one, Anna Cecile wanted to ask when, because general finance would have been yesterday, what she would have put it on there. So she was asking whether or not, do you want a special council meeting or do you want to add it to the next general finance meeting? However, she notes that she will be away on the 5th, which is the next scheduled general finance. So if you wanted to wait until general finance, it wouldn't happen until the 19th.
Darren?
I think what I recall from the budget days is that we wanted to have another special meeting to give enough time, even if it's a half a day, but not that it's part of the general finance. So I would suggest that we look to some date between the 5th and the following general finance, only because I know that there was a requirement for departments to develop a plan on their deferred, and I don't know that they're all complete yet. So I would suggest that we go with a date between the 5th and the 19th and have a half a day. That's my suggestion.
Okay, how does council feel? I see the 8th is open. It's a Thursday, the 9th is a Friday, or do we just want a calendar invite sent our way?
What with a calendar invite?
Calendar invite would be great. Just one other point of note, Chair, is there was a second session with the auditors on the financial literacy training. Remind me, Tammy, I think it was the 19th.
Yes, I believe it was following the general finance.
So I mean, that's another consideration, is that maybe we wait, but if that's a general finance meeting, that may be a problem. So those 2 dates will need to be. We'll go with a calendar invite, I guess is what I'm saying. It might be useful to have them in tandem or one after the other.
Okay, and maybe what I'll suggest, if counselors aren't available the 5th to the 19th, there's a date that just doesn't work, to send it over to Tammy.
Yes.
Wendy.
Wouldn't it make sense to do that financial training and finish that before we do the budget approval? So that everybody's got a good understanding of the budgets and there's clarity.
And that makes sense. That way, after on the 19th, we can do the training and then set the date for the final approval, all in one shot. Does that work? Since it's already in our schedules?
Good to me. I think it's just important. I know that, last year we waited and it was quite late when budgets were approved. I just don't want it to slip beyond the end of July if possible.
Okay. So we'll set the date after we finish the second half of the training, which is on the 19th. We'll set the date for the final budget approvals at that meeting, but we'll make sure we'll have it within that last week there to meet that deadline of the end of the month. Okay, council. Just noting, I have no political updates at my end. So maybe we'll move into Helen's 2 additional items, pride and residency. Helen?
Okay, I'm bringing a residency issue to the band council because I got a letter from 3 people. Couldn't make out clearly their signatures. And there was no way to contact these people, but I want if these people are listening, or any one of them, I want them to know that I can't evict anybody from the reserve. There is a process they have to follow, that I would recommend calling the lands membership office to find out what that process is. They seem to get the impression that I could just kick somebody off if they told me, and I can't. And like I said, I have no way of getting a hold of these people because their signatures weren't clear. Plus, they didn't leave any phone numbers or addresses or anything. So I'm hoping one of them will watch it tonight, maybe, or somebody. I don't know. That's all I wanted to say. Is they have to call lands membership and follow the process.
So I can provide a bit of an update. I think I probably got contacted by one of those 3. And I did get a hold of one of them just to walk them through that process.
Okay.
And so I don't know if it's the same person. That's what I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Anyway, just hope somebody's listening. My other agenda item I wanted to bring is, I don't know how many people are aware, but it's June is Pride Month, Pride Awareness Month. And up to this point, council has done nothing to acknowledge or recognize our two-spirited community, people in our community, and we've not acknowledged Pride Month at all. So I'm asking council to acknowledge Pride Month somehow. I don't know whether we want to put a flag out in the front or something, because we have a lot of people in our community have 2 spirits. That's what they call those people. I don't want to say those people, but I mean, that's what they call it. Having a Pride program on, a rider, I can't hardly read this thing. There's a Pride ride on Sunday, June 27th. Starts at 2 o'clock at Veterans Park. It's going to Emily C. General for refreshments. And then if they want to bike further, they're going to Oneida Business Park. But it's organized by the Six Nations Youth. They've organized this Pride ride. And they're asking everyone to participate. You can ride, you can walk, you can skateboard, you can rollerblade, whatever you choose to do. And it starts at 2 at Veterans Park and it's done at 6. Because if they're riding bikes, they're going to ride all the way to Oneida Park and then ride back to the park in Ohsweken. So they want everyone to participate, and they would love council to participate. So if we can do something to acknowledge the Pride Month, I don't know what it would be. I thought maybe if we could hang a flag out in front or something. I don't know, maybe somebody else has got suggestions, I don't know. I know they used to do things in the park, and I know Councillor, former Chief Ava Hill used to participate in their events in the park before. I think she used to speak. So we have done it. We just have, this council hasn't done it. That's all I'm saying. We didn't do nothing last year, and we haven't done anything this year. And I think we need to do that.
Okay, thanks for that, Helen. I see Wendy.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with Helen. I mean, we should be doing something, and we should, I mean, a perfect example is our newsletter, if it's monthly or quarterly or whatever that is, but hopefully at some point we can get in front of things rather than reporting 2 months behind. Keep it current, and we could do a couple of pages in there. I mean, I think we should be doing a whole lot of stuff, right? But I mean, with just a little bit of time left, something.
Totally agree, and thanks, Helen, for bringing this forward. definitely supportive of that. Is there any other comments? And then maybe what I'll do is just to action something to get a motion from someone to move this forward.
Yeah, it's Melba. I certainly agree also that we certainly should support LGBTQ plus 2, and I guess there's other letters or whatever that's being added, I guess. But I do agree also. We do have the people that choose how they certainly, identify. So I understand there's kind of usually short notice. So I think this community is well in advance this time, I guess, quite a bit in advance. So they should be supporting, because I've always been concerned of the children in the school system. Sometimes we do have some identity problems related to their gender, and they're very quiet in school, and hopefully the teachers and the principals certainly are taking care of those children and counseling if it's necessary. And I'm sure a lot of our services probably have services for the children who have different gender issues and concerns. So I agree with this. Thank you.
Thanks, Melba. Thanks for your comments. Totally agree. I see Wendy.
Yeah, so what if we were to, I mean, there should be something on our website, social media. What if we took out a couple of half-page ads in both of our local papers? I mean, there's colors that we can put out and make a statement there. I don't know if we can get our hands on a flag for Veterans Park, but certainly participate in the ride. But can we fund the efforts of the youth group doing this? Is there any cost associated that we could support?
That's a good question. Helen, would you have that?
I don't have the information on me now, but I can get it. And I wasn't suggesting hang a flag in the park, because we know there's nowhere to hang it, but I thought maybe in front of council somewhere, if we can get a hold of a flag or something, anything. I can find out if there's money. As far as I know, the only cost is talked about having refreshments at MLC General. So I can find out if there's a cost to that.
Okay.
And let them know that council is willing to help, maybe keep the receipts or something.
Okay, Helen,
Nathan,
just
it's Hazel.
okay. I'm gonna go Audrey and then Hazel.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a very worthwhile event. And I think that we should be doing what we can do to fund it. And once Helen gets that, I think that we should be totally supporting all the initiatives that are being done, and maybe contact the youth, find out what they need and what they would suggest that we do as council. And I'm willing to put a motion together if that effective you need that, Nathan.
Okay. Thank you for that. Hazel.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest that since this is a month for the Pride Month, we're thinking that maybe council should consider getting banners made that would fit across the road, I guess, in front of the lights in Ishwegan, that would advertise, or not advertise, but just to for events such as this, like in the fair and bread and cheese and all of those things, community awareness. I think if we had various banners made up that could be used over each year, it would identify, like, to anyone coming into the village and to the community that, this is the event that's going on here this month, and a date would be advertised as well. Just a suggestion.
Thanks for that, Hazel. So I'm hearing support. I'm going to go over to Helen. I'm hearing a lot of support for us to maybe even getting some staff to start working on a plan for us. There's some definites, the flag in front of the building, yes. Social media, that's something that's doable. We can do the ads. And then to explore further the funding needs for I believe it was the Ride for Pride. And and then the banners. So Helen?
No, I was just gonna say council, Brantford painted a flag type thing across the street, one of their streets in Brantford.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Although there's not a whole lot of time for that right now because it ends the end of June, but there's a thought. I think a lot of communities have done that. They painted flags across their road or whatever, walkway. I've seen that before.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is, does council want to put a motion forward now, or do we want to let staff pull a plan together and bring it back at finance? But in the immediate, we'll definitely get the flag up in front of council building, as well as start hitting the social media and the ad stuff we can do. So can I just get a quick motion on that? And then we'll, in terms of the other costs, we'll bring that back to finance on Monday, or political liaison on Monday. Audrey? Audrey, I'm assuming you're moving? Okay. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Sherry
Second,
Lynn?
it's Melba.
Oh, I got Sherry Lynn already. Okay, all in favor? Is there any opposed? Seeing and hearing none, motion has passed. Motion to waive second reading.
I'll move.
Moved by Audrey, seconded by Sherry Lynn. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motions pass. And again, I should have done this, but just for clarity, that is to do the activities that are non-cost related. So that includes the flag in front of council building. That includes the ads going in this week, as well as social media. Costs associated with supporting Ride for Pride, any other banners making, that'll go back to political liaison on Monday. Okay, so that concludes our business. I do want to note that the live stream on Facebook was flickering. I did notice it went live and then it jumped off and then it went live. But as a remedy, what we'll do is we taped this session and we can run that just very similar to how we run a Facebook Live. So it'll just be a delay of about an hour getting out to the community. But they'll still see it. So just so council knows, it'll be just like it's live, but it'll be a quick recorded session. So just to ensure we're doing transparency in our meetings. So comms, you got the go ahead to go on that. I'm seeing no opposition on that. With that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Michelle, seconded by Helen, all in favor? Any opposed? Seeing or hearing none, motions pass.